Belgium on Monday handed over the last remains of slain Congolese leader Patrice Lumumba, a tooth, to his family, turning a page on a grim chapter in his colonial past. Chief Prosecutor Frederic Van Loo gave the relatives a small bright box containing the tooth in a televised ceremony and said legal action they had taken to receive the relic had delivered justice. It is not normal that the remains of one of the founding fathers of the Congolese nation were kept for 6 decades by the Belgians in obscure circumstances, never really elucidated. But what is known does not make us proud. Congo is set to hold 3 days of national mourning from 27 to 30th June in its 62nd anniversary of independence to mark the burial ceremony. The return of Patrice Lumumba to his country will certainly allow the Democratic Republic of Congo to recover an essential link in its national memory. Beyond the Democratic Republic of Congo, an entire continent, Africa, is celebrating the return of one of its wealthiest sons. A fiery critique of Belgium's rapacious rule, Lumumba became his country's prime minister after it gained independence in 1960, but he fell out with the former colonial power in the United States and was ousted in a coup few months after taking office. He was executed on January 17, 1961, aged just 35, in the southern region of Katanga with the support of Belgian mercenaries. His body was dissolved in acid and never found.
China on Monday said it was ready to offer mediation to help countries in the Horn of Africa resolve their disputes. This is Beijing's first attempt to sell its vision for peace in a region with so much strategic importance and where so many interests collide. Key issues in the region include the war in Ethiopia, the dispute over Ethiopia's dam on the River Nile, and the political crisis in Sudan. East African leaders meeting in the Kenyan capital on Monday approved the deployment of a regional force to try to bring peace to violence-hit Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. A statement by the Kenyan presidency said the leaders also called for an immediate ceasefire. M23 rebels last Monday seized the border town from Congolese forces. Kinshasa says the rebels are backed by Rwanda.
Jean-Christophe is well conversant with Ivorian refugee camp located in the suburbs of Lomé, the Togolese capital. He took refuge in this camp when his country, Côte d'Ivoire, was shaken by the post-electoral crisis of 2010 and 2011. However, he has to move because he will have ended his asylum status by the end of June 2022. Just like him, many are faced with dilemma, either to leave or stay in Togo, where they have rebuilt their lives. Given what we have experienced, fear has made us decide to stay here for a while. We won't stay here forever, but we'll go back sooner or later. Last week, 189 passports were issued to Ivorians who wished to stay in Congo by the United Nations Refugee Agency and the Ivorian government to facilitate their repatriation or local integration. Our refugee cards will be deactivated, so if we don't have an administrative document, we won't even be able to access a small microfinance or go to the bank for small operations. These passports are really welcome. We were very happy to have our passports. The cessation of refugee status for Ivorians was recommended by the UNHCR after Ivory Coast regained its stability. The UNHCR remains committed to accompanying the process that will lead to the granting of privileged residence permits in Togo for 10 years to whoever was a refugee. Therefore, with the granting of these documents, your refugee status will cease. Since 2011, some 290,000 Ivorian refugees have settled in other West African countries. In Togo, there are still 800 Ivorian refugees who still have to decide whether to leave or stay following the closure of Ivorian refugee camp, according to UNHCR.
Senegal's main opposition leader on Monday called for fresh demonstration despite a previous rally ending in a deadly confrontation. The opposition has been calling for protests after the country's top court rejected its list of candidates for the July 31st parliamentary election. On June 29th, with or without authorization, we shall hold our demonstration on Senegalese soil. And if Macky Sall wants to prevent this affair, I say it here, and I address this to him directly, He should be ready to arrest us or to terminate us. On Friday, 3 people were killed as crowds defied a ban on marches, and dozens were arrested. We demand the release of the political hostages from Macky Sall and his regime. We demand it as immediately as possible because one can cross the red line. There is nothing worse than injustice. He who suffers injustice and continues to suffer it will react at one time or another. The rejection means Sonko and his colleagues can't vie for seats in the National Assembly. Critics of President Macky Sall have accused him of using the courts to disqualify his opponents. Sonko came third in Senegal's last presidential election and has vowed to stand again in 2024.